Folks, how are we?
Guys good? Well,
Before we start, I just want to make one thing abundantly clear. I've got the biggest fight of my life this weekend. I am absolutely, completely fucking focused on the fight. So let's stick to the professional stuff. Yeah? Stick to the fighting. Let's talk about the fighting. Let's talk about Islam. Let's talk about the fight. Nothing else.
well, Ian, to go off of that, I guess, the first time we saw you at MSG, you were kind of like you had this plan to get the title. You were speaking at as if it was inevitable. So now we're only a few days away from you getting to achieve that dream. Has it hit you? Has it dawned on you? Or do you finally have to treat this as a normal fight week, preparing not only for the title fight, but the #1 fighter in the world?
That's a great question. I knew from the moment I started this sport, I knew the talent that I had. And I knew that with all the talent, the discipline, the sacrifice, and the hard work that I knew I would put in, I knew I would get here. And I have gotten here. And nobody in the world has deserved a world title shot more than me. It still hasn't hit me yet. I still think it's going to be Friday when it hits me, and I'm like, all right, this is it. He's here. There's no more to do. There's no more weight cutting. There's no nothing, no media. It's just show up, face off at the ceremonials, and then I know tomorrow I fight him. I think then it will kind of come to reality that it's real. But I've always said I want to fight the toughest fighters in the world, the best fighters in the world, because that's how you become great. You leave no question marks, no excuses. I have fought some of the greatest fighters walking this planet right now at welterweight. And it's going to be a great honor to go out there and compete against Islam, the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, a two-weight world champion. His legacy is set in stone. Do you know what I mean? He's done so much in this sport. But beating him, it's exactly the challenge I would want to become the champion of the world.
Well, to go off of that, when I feel like no one would have complained if you got a title shot maybe even a couple fights ago, especially when you weighed in as the backup in Montreal. Obviously, that was Jack Bilal, but now it's Islam. It's just kind of a different aura during a fight week for him. Is this best case scenario, getting, like I said, not just fighting for the title, but the guy?
Winning a world title in the UFC is amazing. Doesn't matter who you beat to become the world champion. You're forevermore a UFC world champion. But just like when Conor McGregor beat Jose Aldo, who hadn't been beaten 10 years, there was a different, okay, this is legit. I get the same opportunity to fight the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, a man who is on a record-setting win streak that we haven't seen since the great Anderson Silva. So for me to go out there against him, who many consider to be a generational talent, they're starting to talk about him in the GOAT conversation. For me to go out there and have that as the challenge that I have to go out and beat to prove not only I'm the champion of the world, but I really, truly am the best on the planet, it's exactly what I want.
Is he a guy that you think you'll have to beat twice, considering everything he's done? In the past we've seen guys with these long win streaks, they lose and then they get the immediate rematch just based on their resume. Is Islam a guy you have to beat twice to finally put an end to it?
I think let's focus on beating him once, and then we can focus on beating him twice. Does that make sense? But it all depends on the fashion. If I go out there and I scalp him in 2 minutes, do you want to see me fight him again straight away? Do you know what I mean? That's just the way it is. If we have a back and forth war like he had with Volkanovski, then it probably would warrant a rematch. But also, there's many other challenges here that are exciting at the same time. So let's get through Saturday night. Let's get the win, and then we'll see in what fashion I get the victory and if there's a rematch on the cards. But I wouldn't be against it. I think he's earned enough to do it. But let's get through Saturday night first.
Did you bit of your camp in Georgia, or a big chunk of your camp there?
It was the first place I went to when I found out that we were next. It was way early on. We went to Georgia because I wanted to feel. The Georgians were so lovely. Ahead of my fight with Bilal, I told them I was going to need their help. When I do, let me know. I got so many messages, so many opportunities to go out there and train. And it was great to feel their pressure, their style, their pace, their skill, and then kind of mold my vision of how I need to win the fight from what I learned there, if that makes sense.
So how do you see the fight playing out in your mind?
It's people are talking about it being an interesting fight, but the truth is it's such a black and white fight. It's he has to get me down, I have to keep it on the feet. However, it's the most elite of both of those worlds. He is unbelievably good when he grabs a hold of people, and I am unbelievably good at moving around on the feet and being the best striker in the world. So it's how do we get our games going to win the fight? Who's going to control the fight? Who's going to get the fight where they want it to be, keep it where they want it to be? Can he grab a hold of me, keep a hold of me, get me to the ground, hold me down? Can I stop him taking me down? Can I keep the movement? Can I keep hitting him, keep hurting him? And that's the fight. But it's I believe it's the most elite version of a striker versus a grappler that we've ever seen in the sport. I think it's the next generation of what MMA has turned into, because Islam is no slouch on the feet. Look at what he did to Jack Della Maddalena. Like, the guy can strike, but we don't talk about it because he's so good at the grappling. And for me, it's very simple. He is a phenomenal fighter in every facet of the game, as am I. And I think this is one of the most well-rounded fights we've ever seen in the UFC, full stop.
The last one for me, to kind of go off of that. I mean, you train with Damian and Charles, who are two of just the most elite grapplers we've ever seen. Can I just ask what it is like rolling with Damian? Because I've chatted with the people in the past, and they say it's like, they compare it to drowning. Like, you just don't know where you are, and you kind of have no control of your body down there.
No, I wouldn't say it's like drowning. I would say it's like, it's almost worse. It's almost worse than drowning, because it's like, oh, okay, sweet. So we're gonna touch gloves. We're gonna roll. I know you're gonna get my back at some point, and I know exactly what's gonna happen when you get there. I know that's the plan, and you just can't stop it. Like, he's so good at it, but that's what happens when you spend a lifetime at perfecting a craft. And he's like, the guy has a choke called the Maya Leon. He knows what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable. And Charles is the most dangerous grappler in mixed martial arts, because he can catch you with anything from anywhere, and it's just so dangerous. So you have to be on it at every single second when you're grappling with him, which is very different styles. Like, Charles can beat you everywhere, anywhere, at any given second, because he's so flashy and so fast. Whereas with Damian, it's like, he's gonna get my back at some point, and when he does, like, I can't stop him. Does that make sense?
Ian, you had a face-off with Islam last night on the Rocky steps and everything. Any takeaways from that? Does he look like, a true welterweight now to you? And was that your first time ever seeing him in person?
No. Second time I've ever seen him in person. The first time I seen him in person was backstage at Vegas. And him and his team were like shouting at, I think it was Nick or Nate Diaz. There was a little bit of beef backstage. And I remember just turning to him and going, hey, brother, don't waste your time. And that was it. And he was like, hey, that was it. That's the only ever interaction I've ever had with him. I don't even know if he remembers it, but it was just like, you don't need to waste your time, my friend. No, look, he's not going to be undersized when it comes to weight. There's not going to be any difference from a strength point of view. He's going to be strong. He's going to weigh the same as me. However, I physically couldn't make 155. So when we talk about natural welterweights, I'm bigger. I couldn't make the weight he used to make. So size-wise, people are talking about it online. It doesn't correlate for me the same way. I think it's more stylistically this fight is interesting than size. If anything, me being tall is better for him, because there's more room for him to get under, to get to my leg. There's more leg to get. Do you know what I mean? So I just kind of felt like yesterday he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be at the face-off. I sensed a little bit of like nervous energy from him, but those face-offs, they're fake. They're for social media. They're for Instagram. They're for obligations. They're not for us. The face-off that matters to me is Friday, when we've made weight, we've done all the hard work, we show up in front of the fans, and it's the last time we get to look at each other before we meet in the octagon. That's the one that matters to me.
What about tomorrow? What are your expectations from the press conference? Are you like expecting to go back and forth with him, to be very respectful?
I think Islam's a funny dude. I like his comments. I think he's got a great dry humor. with the kind of the language barrier that he has. I think it's hilarious. It comes across great. Yeah, look, I have no problems with Islam. There's all respect from a competitive point of view. There always is. If he says anything that steps out of line in my book, then he's opening up a door for me to go in, and I don't want to do that. Does that make sense? There's too much negativity in this sport. There's too much of a bad energy at times. We always want to talk about someone in a negative light. Oh, this person said this. What do you think? Oh, he's this, he's that. Gone should be the days of negativity, and let's just speak about people in positive light. So I don't want that to go that way. I don't want any negativity. Let's focus on the fight. There's history to be made on both sides of the octagon. You know, he's the greatest lightweight champion we've ever seen. He's a 2-weight world champion, and if he can win this fight on Saturday night, he breaks the longest consecutive win streak in UFC history. On my side, I'm trying to achieve the dream that I had as a 16-year-old kid from Dublin, Ireland, of becoming the UFC champion. Not only that, I'm also, with a win, the most victorious Irishman in UFC history, and I break Conor McGregor's wins at the moment. So there's history on both sides of the octagon. I want to create mine and stop his, and we don't need to do anything else other than just fight on Saturday night. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. If you win this fight, do we have to change the nickname? Because I guess the future would be now, right? Or do you?
The future's inevitable, buddy. The future's in 5 minutes' time. If we want to walk outside and have a fight in 5 minutes, it's inevitable. I'm going to be there. Let's go. It's never going to change. If anything, it'll just pass on to the little terror that's running around this hotel this week, to little Leander. He's 100% a fighter, and I'm excited to see that future play out.
Ian, right here. You talked about how this is pretty black and white, you know, striker versus grappler, maybe the most extreme example of that in UFC history. But if he does bring it to the areas that he's good at, to the ground, how comfortable are you dealing with that? And also, do you feel like you still, after all these years, don't get enough credit for your grappling?
Grab my leg and find out.
Thanks.
It's that simple. I've trained with Damian Maia. I've been training with Charles Oliveira. I've got John Hathaway in the back there. Absolute legends. I have prepared the best I possibly can for this fight. There is no stone unturned. I am ready for everything. Grab my leg and let's find out.
Ian, back here. You've obviously trained grappling with Damian Maia. You've struck with Conor McGregor. You've been very open-minded to acquiring skills and going around the world. I want to ask you, what do you believe is the best base for MMA?
That's a very good question. There's so many ways to look at this. I really do believe that if you have confidence and the mental fortitude, that's the biggest thing that you can have in MMA. Because if you're a striker and someone takes you down and you can keep pushing yourself and speak positively to yourself, like, I can get out of this, I can keep going, that's a more impressive skill than being able to get up itself. Like, you're constantly focused. But with that mindset, you can do anything. You can learn. I can teach anyone how to strike. I can teach anyone how to wrestle. I can teach anyone how to do jiu-jitsu. But if you're not focused up here and you don't want it up here, then it's not going to come to fruition. So firstly, I think it's not just about skill set, but about mental. I think mental is more important than physical skill. And I think the truth is, if you can grab a hold of someone and ragdoll someone, you force someone into a very different mindset. So I would say that when you look at all the success the Dagestanis are having in the sport, it shows how well that skill set translates into the sport. And now you're starting to see, like, Islam getting cleaner and better on the feet. You're starting to see Umar and Usman Nurmagomedov use that grappling, mix it with fast, explosive striking that forces people to think differently. So I think as a base, if you can grab a hold of someone and ragdoll someone and mentally break them, it's a phenomenal start.
I appreciate the insight. And let me ask you, since you also mentioned confidence, where did you specifically get your confidence from? I know it's from the hard work, but was there anyone in your life that instilled that extra confidence that in front of the whole world you can handle pressure and overcome conflict to win your world title?
No, not in that regard. No, I grew up a very happy kid, and I watched my dad be a social butterfly. I watched how he spoke to people. I watched how he acted. I watched him walk around with such a confidence. And I think as a kid, you're a sponge. You learn from those who you're surrounded by. That's why it's so important to me as a father to be the best example I can be to my little boy, because what I do now, what I say now, how I treat people now is exactly how he will treat people in the future. So when I look at myself as a mirror, I have to go, okay, everything I do, he shall copy. So when I think about it like that, I think just straight up confidence, I think, came from watching my dad walk around and how he interacted with people. But my family aren't athletes. I believe I'm different up here, and that's what separates me. When I want something, I make it happen. And when I love something, I'll make sure that I have the most fun in the world. And I chose this job. I chose this life. And on Saturday night, I get to achieve a dream that I've been thinking about for a decade. So I'm very excited, I'm very happy, and I'm very proud of who I am and where I've come from.
Hey, Ian over here. Well, kind of a fun one. When you fought D-Rod, you sent pizza to his room during his weight cut. So have you found any, halal safe spots to order from for Islam?
No, I don't want him missing weight. I don't want any excuses. Not this time. D-Rob is a bit of fun. Islam, strictly professional. Show up on weight, no excuses, because I want to win this the right way.
There you go. And obviously, the nickname, the future, and all that. You talked about the future, your son and all that. But now that the future is here, your title shot just a couple days away, does the moment feel the way you imagine it would?
I think it will kick in when it gets wrapped around my waist. When that belt gets wrapped around my waist, I think then I'll go, wow, this is really it. But I'm too focused right now to think about the moment. I've been in big stage after big stage, massive fight after massive fight, short notice fights. I've done it all in this sport at the moment, and I'm used to this expectation, this pressure, these big lights. If anything, I thrive off it. So the bigger the energy in the stadium, the bigger the stage, the brighter I shine.
Last one for me. You wake up Sunday morning the champion, right? After all the criticism, all the stuff people say about you and everything, all the doubters and everything, would be how would you feel like the moment when you say, hey, I was right? What would that feel like to you?
I've been right all along. I've been right all along. You know what? When you paint that picture of you wake up Sunday morning, you're the champion of the world. When I paint that picture, I wake up, I'm going to start cutting strawberries for my little boy. I'm going to get some watermelon out of the fridge. I'm going to make him his cereal. When I wake up, I'm a dad. That's it. There is nothing more important to me in my life than being the best father and husband I possibly can be. That is my single biggest focus in life. Fighting is my joy. Fighting is my passion. Fighting is something that is so much more important to me on a selfish level, but nowhere near as important to me on the grand scheme of things of life. My family are here for the rest of my life. My little boy is going to be my golf buddy for the next 40, 50 years. Do you know what I mean? I'm a dad and a husband every second of every day. It's only when I go to the gym and I train that I'm the fighter. I'm the future. Other than that, it's, Daddy, can you make me this? Daddy, can you get me this? I'm hungry. I need to go to the toilet. Like, it doesn't stop. So that's where this week, the last 2 weeks especially, it's just been a nice reminder to see what's actually important in life. And I'm so excited this weekend that I get to go in here and face the greatest fighter walking the earth right now in Islam Makhachev, and I get to use him to prove to the world that I am the best.
Hey Ian, how's it going? How's it going? So obviously, like when we were growing up, like when Conor won those belts, one of the things that was kind of infamous was he never got this big homecoming with either of them. Really, have you and Eddie Hearn been talking about maybe a plan for something big in Dublin after this weekend?
Dude, I've been talking about trying to get the UFC back to Ireland since I got here, and it's not happened. I understand why. I understand reasons, logistics, whatever it is. but I've been very consistent with this. When I get this belt, I have a lot more power to try and dictate where we fight. I have a lot more power to try and get us back. And obviously, to your point, like, there's always been a lot of speculation about the potential of Conor McGregor having a Croke Park event. But next month, one of the greatest fighters in Irish history, Katie Taylor, competes in Croke Park. And if that event goes smooth and successfully, then why couldn't the UFC do an event where maybe me and Conor are main and co-main in Croke Park? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. We don't need anyone else as long as I'm the champion of the world and we bring a Carlos Prates or a Shavkat Rakhmonov, or to your point, maybe an Islam Makhachev rematch. Why not? Anything's possible. But I'd love it.
Well, I was thinking more like just in terms of like, obviously you had that great event in Vicar Street a few weeks ago where you got to meet the fans and everything. Like, do you think after Sunday will you like come home and have some big like moment, you know, at the airport or
100%. I would absolutely love, straight after this fight, my flights are booked to go back to Dublin, Ireland. I want to go and take my wife on a date at our favourite restaurant in Dublin. I want to bring that belt back to Irish style and cement myself onto that kind of earth and know that I did what I said I was going to do. I brought it back, I brought it home, and I can be very proud of the dreams that I've achieved.
Obviously, you mentioned the big Katie Taylor fight coming up. I'd imagine you're probably going to be there at ringside for that event. But I read a story from a couple of years back that you and Katie Taylor actually sparred together. Could you tell me the story of that sparring session?
I was present when she was sparring a friend of mine, and I wouldn't say we sparred, but we all got in the ring and played around. But she used to spar a friend of mine called Craig Bunny, and they used to spar all the time. And I was present one day, and it was just great to watch. It was great insight as a young boxer. I must have been 10, 11 years of age. I don't know. He was a bit older than me, but he was one of the best boxers in the country, one of the best prospects in the country at the time, and it was just a great insight.
Last one, do you think Conor should come back, or do you think maybe at this point, like after the injuries and everything?
Whatever he does, I just hope he makes the right decision for him and his family.
Yeah. Over here. Besides Islam's grappling, do you think his striking could impress you? And the same way, do you think your skills in grappling could impress him and the fans?
I think my skills and my grappling has already impressed them, hence why it took them so long to accept this fight. They seen the Bilal fight and they went, it's not going to be that easy. And yes, I said it a couple of minutes ago, his striking isn't talked about enough because of how good his grappling is. But when you watch him go out there, he beat Jack Della Maddalena every second on the feet. And it was only when he wanted to grab a hold of him did he take it to his world. But he's incredibly talented in all areas of the game. Make no mistake about it. If you switch off on the feet, look what happened to Volkanovski. He can take you out there too. That's why I say this fight is arguably the best complete mixed martial artist fight we've seen in a long, long time. But it's the highest levels of two facets to the game.
And looking down and at the division, you have Carlos Prates, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Michael Morales. Who you think who has to be or deserves to be like the next contender for the title?
Listen, I called him last week and we chatted about it, but there is only one. There is only one person who has earned or deserved the title shot after this fight, and it's Carlos Prates. All the other guys haven't done enough. Shavkat Rakhmonov, whenever he comes back, again, I wish him recovery. Someone told me yesterday that there's been some hardship in his life. I wish him well. I wish him good health. I hope that everything goes well for him because there's more things important than fighting, and family and long-term health is far more important than fighting. So, Shavkat, I wish you all the best. But when he comes back into the octagon, there's only one person he's fighting, and it's me. So he'll jump the queue whenever he comes back because that's the fight I want. But Carlos Prates has earned it. Nobody else in the entire division has earned it. They all need to fight at least one more fight. Prates is coming off 2 fights against 2 guys that have never been finished, and he did it in insane fashion. And I whooped his ass for 24 minutes. And I did it on 3 weeks' notice. So if he wants to give me 3-4 months, he knows what's going to happen. He'll be able to sleep well after the next one.
And last for me, you have Conor McGregor as the biggest Irish star MMA. If you win this belt, what would you have to accomplish before you feel comfortable saying, I am the new face of the Irish MMA?
Being the face of Irish MMA is going to be a tough ask when you have such an iconic fighter from the same country like Conor McGregor. It is never something I've ever thought about, of being the face of Irish MMA. However, I want to make it abundantly clear. Since I entered the UFC, I've been the only one flying the flag. I've been the only one getting the wins in the UFC since then. Many have tried, many have failed, but I've been the guy consistently showing up and getting wins and at the highest level of the sport. I am the new face of Irish MMA, but I don't think I'll ever be the face of Irish MMA unless I achieve all of the goals that I wish to achieve. And I'm talking about a decade of domination. I'm 28 years of age. I can fight. Look, Volkanovski is still the champion of the world. He's 38. Justin Gaethje just won a world title for his third attempt. He's 38 years of age. I have 10 years of domination of this sport at the highest level against the next best opponent every single time. Something that excites me as being the champion of the world is fighting the right fight, the person who deserves the title shot the most, which is something that I feel like the UFC hasn't always done. But that's my job as the champion, is to make sure that the rightful contender gets the shot every single time.
So what was your reaction when you heard that your fight was going to be headlining the first event in Philadelphia in over 7 years?
I initially went, Philly, Dad, come on, can we do Vegas? Because for me, Vegas is like the fight capital of the world. And that was my initial instinctual reaction. I actually wanted to fight Islam in Abu Dhabi. I wanted to do it in enemy territory because then there's just even more hostile energy, and I feel like I thrive off that. And then I thought about Philly. I thought into it a bit more, and I went, oh, Philly's got a lot of fight history. Philly's got a lot of old boxing history here that is deeply enriched in the Philadelphia culture. And then I started to get excited. I was like, all right, wait, we got some legends of the sport that have been born and bred in Philadelphia. There's some amazing boxers. And then I was like, oh, you've got the Rocky films. You've got all that. I was like, all right, okay, cool. Now it's and that initially changed my mind then. But yeah, it's being here, seeing Philadelphia. I absolutely love it. I think it's very beautiful. Philadelphia's going to have a special place in my heart come Saturday night for the rest of my life, because it's where I'm going to win a world title. And, you know, maybe if we're lucky, we can land that famous left hook that Philly's famous for. So let's go out there and try to do it.
And last one for me, what would it mean for you to break Conor McGregor's record?
I've never thought about breaking his records. It's never been something I've focused on or thought about. However, now that I'm in the position where, with a win on Saturday night, I become the Irishman with the most wins in UFC history, it's a pretty cool thought to sit there and go, when I was 16 years of age watching UFC highlights on my laptop in my room, that I'm that close, that I can do it. Tying it alone was awesome, but now I can beat it, and I've still got 10 years in this sport. That record's set in stone. Ain't no Irishman ever beating this record. I can promise you that. That's going to be up to 20s in a couple of years. Ain't no one beating this. I'm going to make sure that it's so far unachievable, essentially, that record's set in stone, and that's the legacy that I wish to create. I want other Irish kids who are watching this fight Saturday night to sit there and go, I want to be where Ian Garry is one day, and then I'd love to see someone be on the cusp of trying to beat my record, because that would be a phenomenal full circle of events. Thank you guys. All the best this weekend.